Welcome in. This is Sheevaun Moran, and this is Energy Mastery Podcast. And we host these so that you can have some ideas about how energy works in a very different perspective. I have been doing this work helping people learn how energy works, kind of since I was a child. And people have always questioned me, wanted to know how I see things, how I interpret things, what information I can help them utilize because of what I see with energy. And so with Energy Mastery, we have a school that is a system that gives you the understanding of how energy actually works for yourself, for others, to understand your own sensitivities, to take advantage of the unique perspective you have as a highly sensitive being. People who come into our courses are people who have tried a bunch of other things or who really just want a whole new level, and their soul has an inspiration that Energy Mastery is a great next step. It could be the only next step, but it's up to the soul and up to the person who jumps in. And so today, I invited one of our certified trainers to come in and join me and ask some questions that they get when they're out in the field, when they're on the phone, when they're working with clients, and when they're working with students. And I thought it'd be super helpful for you to get some details about how they're interacting with energy, and also get some questions from them, because the way I think about things after doing this for many years is going to be so different than somebody who is just starting out. And no matter where you're joining us from and what perspective you're joining us from, it's important for you to know all different angles and ways and aspects of how energy affects your life, and how maybe this is a good resource for you, because energy is everything. It's everywhere. It's in everything we do. The more we're in Wi-Fi, the more we're being affected and impacted by energy. This is the third in the series with our certified instructor, Leon Kolaski, and I wanted to invite him back in because I think he has a very deep question. Welcome back, Leon.
Thanks, Sheevaun. Wanted to kick things off with helping me understand the origins of energy healing. We all know that there's been shamans or different types of healers throughout history. Where did this work kind of start out and how it evolved?
In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was God. And God said, "Let there be light." That's kind of where it comes from. I mean, to be hilarious, but to be accurate, and it's true. So light is energy, and has it been used over the course of eons? Yeah, of course. However, you had to go through a dang lot of training, because what can be used for good can be used for not good. And so the methodology up until fairly recently, at least in this many thousand-year cycle, is that you had to go to a school and you had to be approved and you had to go through different kind of gates or tests in order for you to get certain accesses to certain information. And it wasn't specifically because people couldn't handle it. It was specifically because the soul takes a bit of unwinding. So the soul comes in and it has all of this history, and then the family of origin, and they have the history and such like that. And so then you're dealing with all kinds of nuances, and the soul has to open up, kind of like a lotus. And that's why they say Paramahansa Guru Padmasambhava came in as a fully formed 1,000-petal lotus, meaning he had all of his lotus petals already open by the time, whenever he was incarnated. And so he didn't have to go through all of this, training, quote unquote. And it takes a bit. It takes a bit to stay on this soul journey. It takes quite a bit to stay on this soul journey. I know there have been many times throughout my life that I would have wanted to take a different path. There have been many times in my life where I was almost knocked out of my life, out of my physical life, my incarnated life, my body life. And so it takes quite a bit. And so it's been around. Usually it was just by the chieftains or like the kings or the queens and the select few. And it was kind of like, well, if only you have this, then you are the gifted one. And that's where the gifted thing comes about. It's like, oh, it's only just for a few gifted people. And we're actually still living that language. And then if you look at the Catholicism or, even, other religious sects, they have, certain gifts that the head of the church gets, or the head of the community, whatever that is, the rabbi or the priest or the imam or whatever. And it's like, well, y'all kind of have to work for it. And so now that we're here in this year, 21st century, it's more available. I mean, gosh, when I first started doing this 14 trillion years ago, it seems like, really, like I was saying, like I've said before, Wi-Fi wasn't around, and so now it's easy to talk about energy as a pervasive thing, as something that people can get. You can see people doing shamanic journeys, and everybody and their sister and brother, going and getting shamans training or whatever that is. But
ayahuasca,
or lots of ayahuasca or MDMA or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with those unless you use them as a crutch. However, there's an energetic side to those, and if you don't really deal with the energetic side of it, and you don't deal with the soul aspect of it, it can really turn things sideways. So yeah, it's been around a long time, and there are people who have used it somewhat intuitively, but usually at the expense of their health or some part of their life. And they don't have the formula of keeping things on track physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, financially. And that's the distinction of energy mastery, is keeping things on track and not having the practitioner get sick. Or you see a lot of healing people look gray, or they look kind of all unhappy, or they're super grumpy. That's energy. That's energy creating a persona that doesn't have to be like that.
Well, and I've talked to people about how many people that I'll work on in a given day. And like, well, doesn't that make you tired? Doesn't that? I'm like, no, it's actually quite the opposite, right? Like, when you have this understanding that we do with these tools, that you're actually energized when you're working, on people and, helping support these people. The law of reciprocity really kicks in and, to your benefit. Yeah,
it's amazing being a practitioner. It's amazing being a practitioner utilizing these tools in this way. I didn't know anything else, so I've had to train a lot of people out of some really bad habits, and it's amazing to see people blossom. Like, you'll see people's faces lose like 10, 15 years, You'll see their posture change. You'll see somebody, their whole entire continence changes, right? and it seems magical. It really does seem like magic, but miracles are based upon a formula, and you want to use the formula in order to get the miracle. And it's not like there aren't formulas out there, but the energy is always the thing that is going to change the game. Always the thing that's going to accelerate the healing. If it accelerates the healing, though, it accelerates the soul stuff, and you got to be dealing with the soul stuff. And the thing that we teach in energy mastery is to make sure you learn how to deal with the soul stuff while you're dealing with the energy stuff. Mm-hmm. So, good question, Leon. That was an important one. I love that, and I love how energy mastery is focused specifically on the energy. I mean, that's because of me, and I've seen energy and heard it and all of those things about energy all my life. And I really think that we use words, we throw around words like vibe now. It's like a vibe, it's a thing. And it's like the vibe doesn't feel good. It's like, well, what are we going to do about that? You actually can do something about the vibe. You don't have to be just a prisoner of the vibe. The vibe doesn't have to overtake you. You're not a victim to the vibe. So we teach you how to deal with your vibes and have good vibes. And so
and stay away from bad vibes,
and,
right? Now I think people are giving themselves permission to not participate. Well,
rather than stay away from bad vibes, it's really bad vibes aren't attracted to the good vibes. Mm-hmm. And it's a better when your vibes are on track, when your energy's on track, aligned, it's easy to just repel and be resilient, much more resilient. So any other things you want to ask on this while we have an extra few minutes?
As far as why, when somebody comes to one of the classes, do all their stuff come up? You had mentioned something about the soul. Some things happen in the soul when they get closer to this work. What's happening there?
Oh, yeah. So we're taught as a persona. We're taught in school how to be one way, how to accept things in a particular way, how to adopt things in a particular way, how to speak in a particular way, how to interpret things in a particular way. And anything that doesn't fit into that mold is considered bad, wrong, not good, against our beliefs. And so enough of those things sit in our energy field, and then our energy field gets cleaned up, and then the next layer pops up, and then the personality, the thoughts, the attitude, the emotions, the resistances, the unwillingnesses, the stubbornnesses all start to show up again in order for that next layer to come up. And, it's more like energy has, if you think of energy like a dartboard, and it has, and you turn a dartboard on its side in order to get to the center, has lots of things wound together before you can get to the center. So we're starting at the outer edges of the dartboard, and we're not getting to the center, when we're doing energy mastery. And when you're working on yourself, you're not getting to the center. You're just taking a little layer off and a little layer off. And then that next layer is going to come up against beliefs and patterns and programs and attitudes and resistances and issues with money. Always issues with money. That's why we always focus in energy mastery around helping you align your prosperity. Because the soul has lots of layers, and you have to be willing to go through what the soul is putting in front of you, and you have to know or be willing to learn tools in order to take that next step. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people stop. Most people tend to stop. It takes a lot to keep going and to keep paying attention to in the beginning, to pay attention to the teachings, not the human. So a lot of people will say, oh, I don't like you because it's about you. And it's like, no, this isn't about me. This is totally about, I'm just keeping my eye on the teacher and the teachings and the the opportunity of what I'm here to share. And that is never, ever easy. And a lot of people, and I applaud them for taking a step, but the people who are willing to take multiples and multiples and multiples of steps, now that's courage. That's a lot of courage to work through your stuff and deal with your energies along the way. So, deep topic, y'all. Hope this helped you. My name is Sheevaun Moran. I'm the founder of Energy Mastery. You can find us at energymastery.com. We have meditations. We have courses. We have a new course coming out. We have healing clinics. We have classes you can take over a weekend. You can take a class with me over an intensive. It's very intensive. And I only teach that a couple times a year, but the certified trainers like Leon and Joyce and some of the other certified trainers teach monthly, bi-monthly, regularly. So check out the website. If you have any questions, email us from the website. Until then, thanks, Leon.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Energy Mastery. For more information and resources, visit us at energymastery.com. Stay tuned for our next episode.